to Kababayan Today, Know History, Know Self with Professor Brandon Reilly. Panuorin po natin to.
One of the most pressing issues Filipinos face today is the preservation of their culture. This is true for Filipinos in the Philippines itself, for those in the diaspora, including Filipinos in the U.S. It is especially true for the people known as cultural minorities in the upland areas of Luzon, Mindanao, and the Visayas. Why do they live in the upland areas? The answer to that question is a historical one. In Southeast Asia today, peoples in the lowland areas form the majority cultures in any given country. They are the people that we tend to think of as Vietnamese, Thai, Malaysian, Filipino, and so on. Their cultures differ greatly from the peoples in the upland areas, who have different forms of political and social organization, different religions, languages, forms of dress, diet, and more. These cultural differences resulted from the fact that upland peoples were never conquered or colonized during the colonial period. As a result, their cultures evolved over the centuries independently from those of the colonial and later post-colonial state. This meant that when independence came about in Southeast Asia in the 1940s and 50s, the upland peoples were now citizens in modern states to which they had few meaningful links. The plight of indigenous peoples in Mindanao, called Lumad, illustrates many of the challenges minorities in upland Southeast Asia face today. There are repeated incursions into their ancestral land by companies seeking to exploit their natural resources, domestic logging companies, foreign chemical companies, so on. They have become embroiled in conflicts like the Muslim and communist insurgencies, which they did not start. Worse still, the Philippine government that asserts its sovereignty over their land does little for their communities. Upland peoples in Mindanao are poorer, have lesser food security, lower education, less access to water than the average Filipino. While mallification, SM, Robinsons, and smaller retail conglomerates' colonization of Filipino public space threatens to destroy and commodify the culture of the lowlanders, indigenous peoples in the Philippines face these and other challenges when seeking to preserve their culture. And that is perhaps the greatest irony of all. Having chosen to refuse Islamic, then Spanish Christian, and then American cultural influences over the centuries, upland peoples in the Philippines now have to fend off yet another threat to their ways of living, those of the Filipino majority to whom they are politically bonded.
Maraming salamat po for watching us, and join us once again for Talk Tuesdays next week here on Kababayan Today. Salamat po.